Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of It's Messy, but It's So Good. And I'm back from a little vacation and holiday break, and it's good to be back. And it's great to be with my guest today, Ben Franklin. And yes, that is his real name. Ben has dedicated over 30 years to an amazingly diverse career in show business, working as an actor, a singer, a dancer, a writer, an acrobat, a ringmaster, and an award-winning burlesque artist. And he has several companies in New York where he teaches aerial arts and runs an amazing burlesque fly company and a Ring Circus. And all of the information is in the show notes. I think you're really going to enjoy his unique and authentic blend of integrating circus arts and burlesque into theatrical productions. So enjoy the show. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of It's Messy, but It's So Good. And we all feel the mess now, don't we? And today, my guest is Ben Franklin. And Ben is an amazing artist. He is an actor. He's a singer. He's a dancer, a writer, and an acrobat, a ringmaster, and he is a burlesque artist. And I'm so excited. I'm especially excited because Ben actually lives right in my community. I mean, we're neighbors, and I'm so grateful that I've met so many beautiful, talented, creative people doing really such passionate work in my community. So welcome, Ben.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a true pleasure.
Oh, you're welcome. So, Ben, I want to start off with, I love to just have you just go through your passion journey, how you got started in your passion, your creativity, what you do in the world right now.
Oh, it's so interesting. It's been a long, winding road that most of it was not on the plan or ever even considered. I uh, I come from the second smallest county in Virginia, King George, and it's that little county right on the Potomac River, between Washington, D.C. and Richmond. So
Mhm.
where I grew up, it was fields and woods and creeks and one high school for the whole county. They threw a parade when we got a McDonald's when I was a kid, like small town. I grew up with a really wonderful, supportive family. I'm the firstborn of three, where my parents didn't think they were going to be able to have kids, and they ended up with three, luckily and blessedly. And I was just that kid who was automatically tuned into entertainment, the arts, uh, anything that I could get my hands on, I flocked to it. I remember my dad taking me to see a production. I remember this day of Bye Bye Birdie put on by the Lions Club at the high school. And I was smitten. I was probably three, but it's one of my first real memories. And my dad took me to meet the gentleman who played Conrad Birdie the next day, who was probably middle-aged and ordinary and everything far from Conrad Birdie, but I thought he was the greatest thing in the world. I was ruled by the Muppets. When they came on, everything in the house stopped. I was in front of that television and I was just taking in everything. I remember my dad driving home from my grandmother's had stopped at the mall and bought a tape and he put it in, and it was the original Broadway cast recording of Cats. And
Mhm.
instantly that tape became mine. And I
Yeah.
used to take that with my Fisher Price tape recorder out on a hay bale in the back of field and just sing out into the universe, asking my friends on the bus, "Do you want to come over and play Cats today?" I never saw the show. It was just all in my mind. And if that rounds out an idea of like who I was immediately, it kind of always stuck. And I grew up Southern Baptist in the church. Church was very, very big with my family, and being in a small town with not a lot of resources artistically, that was my training ground. Singing, youth group plays, sketches in church, anything that I could do. And that led to the seventh grade when I was cast in a production that they put on at my middle school of The Wizard of Oz. And I wanted to be the Scarecrow so terribly bad, and I did not get it, but I did get the Tin Man. And from that day on, it was done. Like, check, this is what I want to do the rest of my life. And my parents were wonderful. And they did everything they possibly could to help me be exposed to whatever that was. They didn't know, they're figuring it out. I mean, my parents were smart people and artistic people. My dad was a singer in quartets, and he could sing every part in a quartet from bass to tenor. My mom got her master's in art history, so she would take me to galleries at a young age. So arts were encouraged in our family. And then I just wanted everything. Fifth grade, I started playing saxophone, played it all the way through, still do today. Um, and then I had mentors that lifted me up in my school. My band teacher, all my band teachers, who would go outside of their lives to take me to things that would get me better. Like they would give up weekends. They never got paid for any of that stuff. My choir teachers, my conductor at the church choir, they would take me to scholarship competitions where I could sing for college scholarships as I went along. Basically, I'm a product of all the people who gave me an opportunity, and that's what I always lead with my gratitude and why I'm doing and why I've had the opportunity to do what I still do today. I'm slowing down in my old age, but
I
I'm
know about that.
well. There's a lot of pivots along the way.
Sure.
Um, yeah, but all of this encouragement got me into high school where I ate, slept, and breathed the arts: choir, band, marching band, jazz band, concert band, pep band. I was the drum major of the marching band, going off to band camp in the summers. I was singing concerts in churches. I was touring with a youth group. I was doing summer stock. I got casted in the eighth grade in a production of Shenandoah among some professional folks. And that was another one. Like I was finally around people who really knew what they were doing, and I was a sponge. And then high school comes along and they canceled our drama program
Mm.
just as I was taking over. The arts funding goes to football teams and basketball teams, and we don't have a drama teacher anymore. Well, my friend Sarah, who she was sort of my ride or die through all of these years. She and I sat in the principal's office every day, knowing that we had made so much money on a production of Grease the year before. It's our senior year. We want that money. We're going to get a sponsor. We did. We put on our own one act play. We went to the state one act play competition and we placed. And then we produced West Side Story that we directed, choreographed, costumes. My dad built the sets, and that was it. But then on top of all of that, that singing and acting, dance was not really an opportunity. And I'm 10 years older than my little sister. And I had just gotten my driver's license at 16. And there was a new ballet studio that opened up in a VFW building. And this wonderful woman, her name is Victoria Shiflett, she danced for the Joffrey. She danced for the Ballet Monaco. She was a Rockette, but she had had a stroke that had ended her professional career early. And so she wanted to live by the river and fish, and
Mm.
also had this incredible skill set. And she opened a ballet school, and my sister started pre-ballet. So I would drive her there and I would just sit there and watch her take class and I would be observing. And one day she called me over afterwards and she said, "You're watching." I said,
Mm.
"Yeah, I'm watching." She's like, "No, you're watching. Do you want to do this?" And I was like, "Well, I've always wanted to, but it's just never been an opportunity, you know?" She goes, "Okay, you do pas de deux, which is the partnering with the girls. If you do pas de deux, you can take any class you want, and you have
Wow.
to sing me a song at the end of the night." And I was like, "Okay." And I started dancing 5 days a week. And
Wow.
her son, who went on to have a great career dancing with Mark Morris, he danced at the Met Opera for years and years and years. Seth, he was a year older than me. So we were the only two boys. But I would watch him and follow him. And to be completely honest, I am a late bloomer. I was developmentally behind everyone. I was tiny, skinny. I broke 6 bones by the age of 12. I was always getting injured. I was born hypoglycemic and outgrew it. I didn't get my 12-year molars until I was 15. Like, like all of this stuff. Um, it started to get me stronger and gave me a foundation. And I worked really hard for 2 full years before going off to college. And Miss Shiflett cultivated that on top of Miss Carbaugh, my choir teacher, who would literally give her life up for me to have opportunities to learn. Mr. Jones, my band director. Um, then I applied for college. I had two in mind. One was in Philadelphia because I thought it was hilarious since my name is Benjamin Franklin. And yes, everyone, my name really is Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin the fourth. If I come from a very long line of Benjamin Franklins, no relation to the real, but related to plenty of colonizers on both sides of my family.
Yeah.
Um, and I got into Shenandoah Conservatory, which was in Winchester, Virginia. So it was in my home state. It's something that I knew. It had a good reputation. And I went up there to audition and I saw a show there. It was the Review and the World Goes Round, which is a review of Kander and Ebb music, the folks who wrote Cabaret, and among many other wonderful shows. And I saw that show, and there was one particular actress in it. Her name is Kathy Voitko. We are still friends to this day. I saw her, she was a senior, and I said, "I'm going here." Because if they
Mm.
can turn out someone as good as her, I want to do that. And it was the right choice for me. Being a small town kid, if I had been thrown into the middle of Philadelphia or gone to New York right away, I probably would have been swallowed alive, not knowing what to do. Also, I was still like figuring out who I was as a human being. I knew work ethic. I knew what I wanted. I knew drive. I knew I could do what was necessary to get all of the information. But inside, I was balancing who I was because I didn't really know who I was. I was a golden boy who followed all the rules. My parents were very lucky. uh, but in part of that, I was neglecting half of who I actually was. But it just wasn't an option in my life, especially like in the mid 90s. It was a different time for figuring out who you are. But I went to Shenandoah and it was a great, awesome time. I got my degree. I got to play some really wonderful roles. And thanks to Miss Shiflett and that dancing, I got cast in the very first musical of my freshman year, which was a really small show. And I ruffled some feathers because there were a lot of upperclassmen who didn't love that. But I was off and running, and it was basically never looking back. From that, right as I graduated college, I went right into my first professional job, and I basically kept working regionally, doing musicals and plays and operas for a really, really, really long time. And I'm grateful for it. National tours, I saw almost every state in the union. And then I was finally like in New York City. I moved there January 1st, 2000. I was like,
Oh, really?
let's
Okay.
start this thing off right. I went in, moved in, slept on the floor in my apartment, gonna get my headshots the next day, and got robbed in the same day.
Oh,
Welcome to New York.
yeah.
Uh, and then I ended up there for 23 years before moving here to Greenwood Lake. And there is the whole musical theater world. I met some of the greatest people. I've worked with some amazing, wonderful artists, some of them famous, some of them not. But overall, I can say that I had the opportunity to live a life in theater that was a positive one overall. That's not the case for everyone, uh, but I count myself very, very lucky. And then that musical Cats came back, and it was the first time they released it regionally after it had been on Broadway for all of those years. And that show was such a big thing for me and my family. And I got cast in the show. I always saw myself as one particular character, and I did not get that part. But I ended up getting a part that I never thought I would play. Got cast as the Rum Tum Tugger, the rock and roll kitty cat, which is crazy to say, but that is an actual real thing. And I went off and I did that show, and then I got cast to do it again. And while I was doing that, I met Joshua Dean, who is now my husband and my creative partner and my business partner. And we've been together for, it will be, well, it's been 20 years this year, and it'll be 21 come October. And we have our 11th or 12th wedding anniversary in March. Yeah. The interesting thing with Josh is that we instantly were putting on shows together. We were doing a benefit for the Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS, uh, wonderful charity. And we put on a one night only production of the Rocky Horror Show, which is very funny because when we moved to Greenwood Lake, he got cast in the Rocky Horror Show here with Core Theater Group and
I
played
saw
Rocky.
it.
Yeah, right.
It was awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was a pretty great show, and everyone involved, and I was so proud of him to see him what he did in that. But by doing that, putting on those shows, we were working together, but also apart a lot. I would go away for 6 months and do a show. He would go off somewhere, and he went off and danced with Twyla Tharp in a ill-fated create from the very workshops to the out-of-town try-up of the ill-fated Bob Dylan musical, The Times They Are A-Changin'. Um, we call it The Days They Were A-Numbered. Uh, but after he did that, he found a new passion, which was aerial circus arts. And he found out that he was really good at it right away. And he just really dedicated himself to learning everything that he could. And as he was accumulating all of these skills, he was like, how about, so we're not apart so much, why don't we work together? How about I teach you and we start working as a duo? So we started training in duo trapeze and lyra, which is the hoop, and rope and Spanish web, some duo acrobatics and things like that. And that led us to meeting some other folks when he was teaching at the Trapeze School in New York at that time to create a company. It was called Suspended Cirque, and we called ourselves the first aerial uh, circus theatrical company in New York City. And there was this incredible space called the Galapagos Art Space that was in Dumbo, Brooklyn. Now,
Mhm.
Dumbo, Brooklyn now is this ritzy, built up, very high priced area of New York City. Then it was not. There was not a ferry that took you there. It was a long haul. But the group that we were working with said, "Hey, come see this space." Robert Elms, who owns it, says that like if we like it, we can put on a show here, and all we have to do is get people to come, and we'll get the ticket split. But they'll give you the tech, they'll give you the lighting, they'll give you the space to work in. I was like, in New York City, you've got to be kidding me. So we went there and I walked into this space and I said, "You've really got to be kidding me." It was this industrial concrete space with these round, like pods of circular seating on wrought iron steel that went over water that had been dyed black, that looked like it was an abyss that you would just fall into. It was actually only like a couple feet deep, but it looks like you were just hovering over oblivion. And then a stage, and then a rounded seating, horseshoe seating at the top. And you could climb the walls, you could hang off the walls, you could rig in the audience, close proximity to people. And we were just like, oh, this is incredible. And so we started making shows. And they also would have a cabaret night called the Floating Cabaret that we started getting booked in as the circus act. And in that, there was comedians and downtown performance artists and a whole world that I had not experienced outside of like my traditional theater. Like we sing, dance, and do musicals. This is the script. We go put it on, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. But a whole new option opened up of creativity and getting to tell the story you want to tell. And that was freeing. So this led to basically like a whole philosophy for me of say yes. If an opportunity presents itself, you say yes to it, and who knows where it goes. Try it out. It may be right, it may be wrong, but at least it's something and it's could be yours. And that awoke creation of a lot of shows. We suspended Cirque, we did two Christmas shows, three original shows, one that we ended up actually recording, like having original music written to. We sold these things out. We were performing in the Floating Cabaret, and now I'm looking around it and I'm seeing burlesque for the very first time. Like old fashioned,
Their new option.
yeah. Old and to be completely honest, I wasn't keen on it at first. I was like, what is this? But also, New York is the birth of neo burlesque, which came around in the early 90s after burlesque in its original form had basically disappeared. Like the years of Gypsy Rose Lee and glamorous ladies traveling on steamers with their trunks, supported by mobsters. Like that world doesn't, Mrs. Maisel, all of that, that didn't exist anymore. It died in the late 60s, early 70s. But there was this resurgence of downtown performance artists who took burlesque and they turned it into shock, hilarity, uh, anything. You know, burlesque in its definition does not mean strip. It does not mean it's a lampooning of a theme, of a person, of an idea. And then as we're going along doing circus among all of these things, because if you're going to perform circus in New York, you're going to be doing it in a variety show where there's burlesque. And because those are the venues, that's what the shows are. We started crossing over a little bit. We'd get asked to do a burlesque show, a whole burlesque production of The Wizard of Oz with Bianca Del Rio before she won RuPaul's Drag Race as the Wicked Witch of the West. And we're hired as the Lollipop Guild doing a duo trapeze act in this show. Then we're like, oh, burlesque in like theatrical terms, rough and tumble, whatever it was hilarious and it was fun and it was freeing. So we had that. Then Joshua and I wanted to go back to our theatrical roots using all of this stuff that we were doing. And we came to the end of Suspended Cirque and we started our own company called Ring Circus.
Right.
And we knew the two of us we had an idea for a two-person show, a brothers show, like a old school vaudeville basically, where there's the one and the two. There's the host, ringmaster, and a clown. That could be something. And then we had worked with Lanny Corson and her boyfriend at the time, Kenneth Ziegler. Lanny and we met doing The Wizard of Oz and Brigadoon together. And when we were doing the last suspended Cirque show that we did, I said, Lanny, you you dance great. We need someone to do a ribbon act as this through line character of the power of this Phoenix character that we did. It was a very epic, an intimate epic spectacle, we called it. Um, Mythological kind of show. And so she signed on and she started doing some circus. And we're like, well, you've got Ken, so why don't you two come in and it's two couples? So we'll call it the two rings of two couples. Also, Josh and I were getting married, the two rings for our relationship. And also we're doing small shows. So we're not doing a three-ring circus, we're doing a two-ring circus. So we created that. And we made our first group show. It was called Cirque de Jazz. We premiered it in New York. It sold great. It was really well received. It was a big band, Great American Songbook circus review with we played four different characters, a ringmaster, the leading lady, the juggler, and the clown, Jojo, which is Josh's clown to this day. Jojo didn't speak. He was this sweet, innocent, adorable thing in clown shoes, yet he would do aerial acts in these gigantic clown shoes that we were singing and we were dancing and tap dancing and throwing the girl through the air. And that show ended up doing very well for us. We traveled around. We toured China with it.
Wow.
We played theaters like 3,000 seat theaters to a full house of Chinese speaking people doing our little four-person American songbook show on the apron of this colossal stage. And by the end, they were dancing in the aisles.
Wow.
So it was something, it was really hard. It was really cold. They never turned the heat on in the theaters there. But talk about a baptism by fire of like, here's your thing, go throw it out in the world and see what
Yeah,
happens.
test it out.
That's right. But then we made another show that was, we wanted to do a more like adult show using the burlesque thing. So we called it a vintage affair and we workshopped that over time. We ended up doing that around a few places. And that was more of our like crossover show. And then Joshua and I also had our two-person show, which we ended up performing on cruise ships as the guest entertainers. We were reporting out of New York City, so we got to go home once a week, which was kind of cool. But then during all of this, the theater world, the people we'd worked with all of those years that we developed these relationships, started calling. Mark Robin, who cast both Josh and I separately in Cats and then together in Cats, and who I played the Scarecrow for in The Wizard of Oz, said, hey, I'm doing The Wizard of Oz again at the theater, the Fulton in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where he's artistic director. And boy, he has built that theater up incredibly over these past years. Like what they have done is amazing. He goes, you know that part in Wizard of Oz? It's a line that's in the script that's cut from the movie. But in the first scene when Dorothy's talking to the farmhands, the Hickory, who ends up the Tin Man, says, I think maybe I'll go out and be a strong man, join the circus. And he flexes his muscles and A&M goes, oh, don't start posing for it now. But that's the visual in Dorothy's mind that turns him into the Tin Man in her head. He goes, everything that happens that is said to her, I want that to be Oz. And I want to integrate circus in Oz. So would you guys be interested in doing this? And we're like, yeah, absolutely. So we go to Oz and we were in the ensemble, but we would be the filler throughout everything for the crows with the scarecrow that are watching. We were up on a triple trapeze dressed as crows where we would do a whole act above and laugh and make fun of him. And Emerald City was a three-ring circus, people on unicycles and hula hooping and flying up in the air on roller skates even. And that was a wonderful thing. And it sold great. People loved it. We were like, wow, that's really cool. And now we're closing. And the day the weekend we were closing, I got a call from my friend Adam Cates, who is one of my best friends from theater days. We've done a million shows together, and he assisted the wonderful Peggy Hickey, who was no longer with us, sadly. Peggy and Adam picked me up years ago for a production of Beauty and the Beast at Alabama Shakespeare Festival. I went in blind to an audition. It was a last minute choice. I was like, I've got some free time. I'm going to go audition for this production of Beauty and the Beast. I'd already done the show before. I'd played Lumiere, and now I was here dancing for them for the ensemble. And they hired me, and something clicked. And Peggy and Adam, they picked me up and they took me from show to show to show to show. I got to do The Music Man with Shirley Jones,
Wow.
like the original, like Marion in the movie. And I got to do My Fair Lady at Lincoln Center with Kelsey Grammer and Brian Dennehy and Marnie Nixon, who's the singing voice in the movie for Audrey Hepburn. And
Wow.
Peggy just changed my life. And then Adam says to me, okay, there's a production of Little Mermaid that I'm choreographing, Disney's Little Mermaid. They had just released the rights to this show after the Broadway run. He goes, I'm working on this show and I have an idea. Now we're the original plan is that ZFX, which is the flying company that does like Peter Pan and stuff like that, the harness flies and all of that stuff,
Mhm.
is going to do the effects to make the underwater swimming and stuff. He goes, what if we made it circus? What if we cut those wires and it's happening everything? He goes, can you give me a pitch for it? So we all got together. We came up with our ideas. We're like, this scene, this scene, this scene, this scene all has to be done. And we pitched ideas for it. They sent it over and they chose us. And so here we're doing Little Mermaid. Well, that ended up leading to more Wizard of Oz's, the one that we got to do on our own, four Little Mermaids, a relationship that gave us a production of A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, which isn't, how do you put circus into that? Well, you have the Proteans, the three guys who become everything. You have the courtesans who are being bought and sold in this ridiculous comedic way. Well, let's have people falling out of windows and falling out of the ceiling and doing whatever. Did that. Then, while doing that, we had the shows that we wanted to develop. There is the musical Godspell has always been very close for both Joshua and myself. When I was a junior in high school, I got cast as Jesus in a production of Godspell, and that was the show where my dad came out afterwards and said, "Whatever you want, I'm behind you 100%."
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, because he was nervous. Like he always supported and made everything happen, but that was the show. He was like, "I'm 100% behind you." And Josh had just always loved it. And we were like, "What if we took Godspell, which is a show that is done basically with clowns, but like in this nebulous way. Like, who are these people? Why is this happening like this? It makes totally sense in the 60s of what that was, but what is it today?" And we
Hmm.
were like, well, the score, they keep trying to update the score. They keep trying to make it sound more contemporary and everything, but it's still always got that 60s feel. Day by Day is the ultimate like 60s groove song. What if we did a treatment of the show where we don't change a word, but what if we put another show on top of it? What if it's 1968 and this is, which is in the late 60s, this is when circus in America, like the touring circus, the small traveling circuses, the big ones all moved indoors to arenas. The small circuses were closing down. They were done. It just wasn't working. Time was moving on. Entertainment was changing. Circus is eternal, but it will always go and ebb and flow and become new things. What if it's a small town traveling circus that has literally just played their last performance? And what if we are in Alabama packing up, everyone is dejected, but Jesus is a Martin Luther King style figure,
Hmm.
a prophet, a man who shakes things up, who is there's a warrant out for his arrest, and he comes for shelter, and he is accepted and transforms these people with his parables, with his teachings, with his love one another, and we do Godspell that way. And so while we were doing The Little Mermaid in Arkansas Repertory Theater, Bob Hupp, Robert Hupp, one of the best artistic directors I've ever had the privilege of working with, and one of the greatest guys, we asked him if we could have a meeting and pitch him our idea. We had had a full treatment done. The show was done. We wrote it for the people that we knew and their talents. So every number is a circus number. It never stops being what it actually is. And we thought he would say, well, maybe I'll take a look at it afterwards. And after that meeting, he goes, I want you to close next season. And we were like, oh, yes, of course, of course. This is exactly what we hoped for. And we did. And it was beautifully received. And he moved to another theater before he ever got to see that show. But then he ended up bringing us with him to his next theater where we got to do The Wizard of Oz and we got to do another Little Mermaid and we did A Christmas Carol last year. Circus and A Christmas Carol. That doesn't make any sense at all.
But
But
you are the go-to circus unique performers that add even more depth and creativity to shows that exist, right?
that's
And
right.
you
Th-
know,
that became our thing, our staple. And it's so wonderful to take a show that like or that you've done multiple times and go, what can we do to bring a little more wonder to it? And also like they're not on lines. They're physically doing all of these things. They're climbing, they're dropping, they're tossing, they're being caught. And it's been like the privilege of our lives to get to do those things. And it's always interesting going into a new theater because you have to like teach them to understand what you do because we're so different and outside of the box for so many people. They're like, I don't understand. Like there's the folks who want you to come in and just like put circus here, put circus there, sprinkle it around. We can do that. That's fine. That's a great payday. We're happy to do it. But like to actually get to conceive, to work on the creative team with the designers and the other directors and stuff, to have a voice at the table, uh, that's everything. And that's freedom. And
yeah,
that's
for
what I
sure.
can say is the greatest privilege of my life, is that we managed to have a large part of our career where we had freedom to work in under different confines, which is always a great, wonderful challenge. But to have your voice really heard, it was interesting. Like all I ever wanted to do was be on Broadway as a kid. And now that's not my dream anymore. Like I'm I got my dream and I'm grateful truly every day that I had that moment to do those things. I'm getting older. I'm slowing down. I'm not jumping out of windows as catching people as much anymore. But it's been a really nice run. But we're not done yet. I'm now currently working on an original piece that I'm writing that is a circus play, fully integrated, not just sprinkled. It is someone's life whose their life was the circus, and it will be told in that way. So
Mm. Yeah,
there,
that's what I was going to ask you, what you are currently working on.
yeah,
Um,
it's I'm slower than I would like to be. It's very interesting. That meditation this morning was very that you gave me was exactly what I needed, and you opened my eyes to go, you know what? You're going to do that every morning when you get up, rather than go to your phone, rather to get bogged down into what is happening out there right now, because I am one who can be dragged into the noise and prevented from doing the other things. And then also I something while I was dragged into the noise yesterday popped up on a feed, and it was a quote from James Cameron, the filmmaker, Terminator and Titanic, about his writing process. And it was exactly what I needed to read yesterday and I screenshot it and I'm keeping it and I'm gonna like make it the thing on my phone. So when I look at my phone, I'm gonna be reminded to go do your work because the work's here. I just have to put it on paper now. But yeah, it's an original piece about someone who has been dead since 1906, but who basically transformed circus and entertainment in the world, brought it to places that had never been, who is basically a footnote behind a lot of other considered more successful people. And I think of it as a love letter to
Hmm.
a true like game changer in the world of entertainment, and hopefully the biography that he deserves to be more than just a footnote. So
Yeah.
hopefully,
And how it affected your life, really,
yeah, yeah.
in many ways. So I have a question regarding, I just want to note a couple of things talking to you is you're very inspiring.
Oh,
And I'm sure that everyone that came into your path felt your dedication and your inspiration, and that creates a desire to want to help someone because, like, I'm sure at this point in your life, if you came across someone that was interested, or you do because you have students, right?
right, we do.
It's like, what? Let me help them. Let me inspire them. Let me teach them. So I think a lot of it is your passion and your dedication and inspiration. So I just want to honor that
No,
because,
that's very kind. I mean, I am a product of who gave me opportunity, right?
right.
The the only thing I can do is to honor them by continuing to be that way. And yes, I'm a nice guy. I've always been a nice guy. That's just I've got my bad sides. We all do. We have our flaws, but I do try to approach the world with light and kindness. And my dad is was the ult my father basically lives his life as a missionary, even though
Mm,
that's not his profession. He
yeah.
spends his days helping others. He was on the rescue squad for decades. He would disappear in the middle of the night to go help someone, but someone had done that for him. And he's built churches in Africa. He has when there's a disaster somewhere, he's down there feeding people and washing their clothes and cleaning up debris. He's in his 80s now and he's still doing it. Um,
Yeah.
that my parents lived a life of service, and that may not be my everyday path, but I try to approach my life and how we run our businesses and everything in service. Because when you're building a show, when you have someone at your school who is coming to you for the very first time, you welcome them. You want them to feel comfortable. You want to build a community of kindness, acceptability, understanding, and where everyone feels like they have a place.
Right.
How do you succeed any other way? Like negativity, power trips, none of that serves anything good. So you have to live your life in that way.
Yeah. Well, that's, without ego.
Yeah.
Yes, we're human and our ego pops up. That's just part of who we are. But having the consciousness and the awareness to say, I might be in my ego now, but your heart is, really your intention is, because one of the questions that I always ask people is, how do you deal with the challenges that come up? Because
Mhm.
there are many,
Always.
from technical to concepts to maybe even working with certain people.
Mhm.
And, a lot of what you were sharing is, you have a strong intention and mission. But is there any other like practices, tools, or even perceptions that you use as challenges come up?
Well, Joshua has been a very big inspiration in this is it's pivoting.
Mhm.
It's not about problems, it's about solutions. He is an amazing big picture person. I can get bogged down in the minutia of we're doing this and this and this and this, but his true gift and his talent is to go, this is the whole thing.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about 2 weeks from now when we have to deal with this. He is. He has all of that. I'm the person who goes in and talks and smiles and is like the I remember all of the names and I do all of that where he's like focused on picture and it's not so much like the cuddly I'm going to be everybody's buddy. That's my job. So and I'm good at that. So I lean into that and I think it's you we lean into what we do best and let that person take the lead in all of
Absolutely.
those things,
Into
you
your
know?
genius, and let other people do what they enjoy, what they're good at, and you
Yeah.
focus in on your genius for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's great that you have a partner that you blend with like that.
Yeah,
'Cause
and we couldn't
otherwise,
be more different. Like we are polar opposites, but it's a polar opposite that works really, really well. And oh boy, we'll fight. We'll disagree, we'll slug it out, but in the end it always comes to where it needs to be, and we're always okay.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I count myself very, very blessed for that. And
yes.
you asked something about like someone asked me once, well, do you want to be famous? No, I don't want to be famous. Someone asked me, "Well, what do you want?" And I thought of this a long time ago, and I've kept this in the back of my mind always. Is like the only thing I ever want to achieve as success as a performer or creator or anything is that there's some kid exactly like me who's sitting on the hay bale with a song in their heart and a dream that they might see something I did that inspires them. I may never know it, but that's success to me.
Absolutely. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's planting the seed and having the trusting the process that your energy and your vibration really is being picked up.
Yeah.
And it's really just about, having that trust and having peace with it,
Yeah.
because we can go into the monkey mind and go, oh, achieve, achieve, achieve. I didn't get this feedback. This didn't happen, that didn't happen. But it's really coming back to your center and knowing that, you do put that vibe out. And as a nurse, I've been a nurse for like 42 years. And I've been reflecting because I just retired. And
Congratulations.
thank you. And I from time to time, of course, reflect on, you know, all the people in my path
Mhm.
that I hope I helped and I gave some light to in the world. And I know in my heart I have, and
Yeah.
that.
Right.
And that is success.
That is. It
Success.
is. And you will not necessarily get the tangible knowledge of that, but
Exactly.
knowing that you did what you did, that is it.
Yeah,
Out
and
of all of the people that saw you on any particular day, one. That's
right.
success.
Absolutely, absolutely. And acknowledging that within ourselves, of course, not in an egotistical way or anything, but just letting it settle into our heart and knowing that
Yeah,
is it's priceless.
it
Oh,
is. It truly is,
yeah.
which is why it's easier to slow down a little bit now and enjoy a weekend for the first time in my adult life. Like the gratitude of a lot of work. You're like, okay, we did we did something. We're not done, but it's okay to slow down and breathe and enjoy and look out at the beautiful lake that we live on now and how
Yeah,
grateful I am for that.
I know. It's so true. I mean, you've already kind of expressed this, but one question that I always ask my guests is, what is the biggest gift that you personally have received from your passion journey, from your work, from what you've
Oh, well,
created?
starting off, the people that gave everything to get me to where I am, that the
Mhm.
opportunities, the people who called and said, "Hey, I'm doing a show. Come do it." Like I didn't have to audition for it. I got a call to be a part of this. My teachers, my parents, the people who raised me and gave me selflessly the opportunity. I don't know how my parents did it. Like I mean I'm running a circus school in New York now and I run the front office. So I see these we have a youth program where these kids come in and I see the parents and I get the emails trying to fit their schedules of how to do it. I know what my schedule was as a kid. My parents never got a day off. I was going all the time and they said yes, which is why that say yes thing is so important to me when opportunity comes. Someone said yes to give you this, so you say yes to the opportunity to use it and keep going. And then as I went along as a musical theater performer, I was the who do you want me to be today guy when I walked into an audition. I was like, you want me to be rock and roll today? You want me to be legit classical musical theater? I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. And I lucked out that I had that as a career. My resume reads as a like, you played this and then you did that and this, that. Great. That's because those other people gave me the opportunity to learn all of those skills to pivot in that direction. But then when we crossed over to the other side and started making our own work, I found burlesque. I learned, oh, I'm best when I'm me.
Mhm.
I'm not trying to be somebody else. So all of a sudden, I could walk into a musical theater audition room and I will never be, who do you want me to be today? Never, never again. I will walk in as me and go, here I am. This is what I have to offer. I'm either right for what you want or I'm not. And that is freedom because I've seen so many people who are in the daily grind of I got to get that job, I got to get that job, I want it, I want it, I want it, I want it, lose their minds over something they have absolutely no control over. I didn't get that part. I wanted it so bad. Well, guess what? Having been on the other side of the table, casting, assisting people, sitting behind for hours and days watching auditioner after auditioner after auditioner come in. And I know I can see it in that person's face. They want that job, they want that part so bad. But guess what? You're not going to get it because it's already cast, or it's not in the cards because you're just not right for the picture of everything on the table. So why lose your mind over it in trying to get something that there are so many circumstances that you don't even know that are at play? So just come in, be you, be honest, show us your talent, and thank you. And go to the next one because there will be a next one. If you
Will
keep
be.
doing the work and you keep prepared and ready to go, put yourself out there. I was always really good at rejection. There were a couple that hurt. Like I lost a couple Broadway shows. Like it was like between me and another.
Yeah.
Guess what? I'm glad I didn't get them because my life wouldn't be today what it is now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So th-
I
that
think I
that's
think
what I
just what
take.
you said is, if someone out there is listening and in stress and
Yeah,
anxiety, um, and feeling maybe a lack of self-worth on some level,
totally.
um, what you just said is so powerful and beautiful. So thank you for that.
Oh, sure. I mean, like as a performer, it may come down to the number of equity union contracts versus non-equity. This role's going non-equity. It doesn't matter. You have a
Right.
union status, you're just not even in the running. Don't put the pressure on yourself, ever.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So how can people get in touch with you? I'm going to put it in the show notes, but I know you have a couple of different Instagrams and
Yeah. There's the whole all the businesses. I mean, Ring Circus, like To be completely honest, I'm really not on the socials so much anymore. I've been kind of dimming that out of my life, just for peace of mind and everything,
Mhm.
getting out of the matrix of it all. But there's my website, iambenfranklin.com, because that's my name and that makes total sense. It's also I am Ben Franklin is my Instagram handle, and there's one for Two Ring Circus, which is the number two, RINGCIRCUS. Then there's our burlesque account, which is Two to Fly Burlesque, Joshua and I working as a duo. And then if you want to come do something exciting in New York, we have Aerial Arts NYC, which is our circus school. We're open 7 days a week, and it's a recreational school that is geared for anybody who wants to try. We have people from age 6 all the way up into 74, almost now, 73. It it is something that we love catering to. We're not trying to turn out professional acrobats. We can, and some of our students can, but we work with 9 to 5ers. We work with nurses. We work with teachers. We work with fashion designers. We work with performers. And if you want to learn the silks or the static trapeze or the lyra, stretch and flexibility just to get your body moving, contortion. We have Pilates reformer classes. We're there 7 days a week, and it's Aerial Arts NYC. We're on 30th Street, right next to Penn Station, which is kind of crazy because we take the train in 4 days a week from here, and it's www.aerialartsnyc.com. Come play.
Yes. Well, I want to thank you so much for sharing your passion, your creativity, your heart. And I'm going to, put everything into the show notes so people can get in touch if they'd like to reach out to you to find out more. And go check out the school in New York City, people that are local, or if you're visiting. Do you do like performances there as well, or it's just more or less training and
Well,
education?
mostly training, but we have a couple times a year, we do what we call intensive aerial workshops, where our
Mm.
students work for 8 weeks to create a piece. And then we showcase the piece
Oh,
at
that
the
makes
school. We
sense.
hang curtains and lights and everything. And we usually do 2 shows in one night with 2 different casts. And everyone gets to come see like what the people who are taking class with them, the incredible things that they create. And then we perform around the city occasionally still, and who knows, once I finish this play, then we'll
Yeah.
be probably doing a showcase there at some point.
And you can look into that if you follow Ben.
Please
So
do.
you'll see what's up for him in the future. Well, thanks again so much. It was just such a pleasure, speaking with you, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a true joy.
You're welcome. Take care.
You too.
Thanks everyone for listening to another episode of It's Messy, but It's So Good. And I want to thank my guest today, Ben Franklin. I really, really enjoyed speaking with Ben and learning all about his unique contributions to theatrical arts. And what really amazed me is like the gratitude that Ben had and the authenticity for everything that came to him in his path, from his parents to his mentors to collaborating with people. He really is continuing to work on projects and running his school, Aerial Arts, in New York City with his husband. If you enjoyed this episode and you think that someone else might be inspired by it, perhaps you know someone in the theatrical arts that or wants to get into the arts and they need a little bit of inspiration, I think that this episode will be very helpful. And if you enjoy it, share it, and then give us a review and subscribe to the podcast, where you'll hear many, many interviews of very passionate and creative people that have gone through different transitions and are out there adding positivity to the world. You can contact Ben at the show notes. We have websites and all his Instagram handles on social media. So again, Ben, thank you so much for taking the time to share your life journey, your passion, and thank you to the audience for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Take care.